Namaste. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Ratnakara Dhautapadam Himalaya Kiritinim Brahma Rajarshi Ratnadhyam Vande Bharata Mataram. Namaste, good evening, and a warm welcome to all for the 11th day of the lecture series organized as a part of My Bharat Online Youth Campaign. I am Lavanya Radhakrishna, a full-time coordinator at Disha Bharat. Disha Bharat has actively pursued the promotion of our Bharatiya heritage, its diverse culture, rich history, its historical places, and varied art forms on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter handles to inspire students and general public. Our consistent efforts on social media have been a substantial rise in our subscribers, and this proves the phenomenal impact that our Bharat Darshan and other such series have had. Earlier this year, we ran a 21-day poster series on Param Vir Chakra recipients, which was appreciated by people from all walks of life. We concluded the series by organizing offline lectures in colleges across Karnataka. Eminent speakers inspired students with their captivating speeches on our brave soldiers. This ignited the spirit of patriotism and elevated their sense of respect and regard towards our armed forces. Dear friends, today's lecture is on the topic Wars since Independence, remembering Param Vir Chakra heroes. And the speaker for the day is the very epitome of inspiration, the embodiment of Kshatriya Dharma, Major General G.D. Bakshi. I request Major Rekha Sinha ma'am to please introduce the speaker to us. An accomplished person herself, Dr. Rekha Sinha has 25 plus years of experience in the field of education, and she's currently serving as a major in NCC rank. She is the NCC officer and director of School of Humanities and Social Sciences and School of Interior Design, Jain, deemed to be university. Over to you, Rekha ma'am.
Thank you, Lavanya ma'am. Good evening to all the participants and distinguished guests. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome to today's speaker, Major General Gagandeep Bakshi. Major General Bakshi is a retired Indian Army officer. He is a multifaceted personality, a combat veteran, PhD in strategic studies, author, editor, Indian Military Review, and a motivational speaker. Sir is from the 6th Jammu and Kashmir Rifles. He was awarded the Vishisht Seva Medal for commanding a battalion in the Kargil War. Later, he was awarded the Sena Medal for distinguished service in commanding a battalion during counter-insurgency drives. He subsequently commanded the Romeo Force, that is, the part of Allied Rashtriya Rifles, during intensive counter-insurgency operations in the Rajouri, Poonch districts of Jammu and Kashmir, and succeeded in suppressing the indigenous armed movement in the area. He has served 2 tenures at the Directorate General of Military Operations and was the first Brigadier General Staff Information Warfare at Headquarters, Northern Command, India, where he dealt with information warfare and psychological operations. He was also awarded the Special Service Medal and Sangram Medal. Sir has authored 37 books, including India-Pakistan War 1965, The Rise of Indian Military Power, Evolution of an Indian Strategic Culture, Freedom is an Eagle, Poems from an Outpost, The Saraswati Civilization, and the latest one being Thunder Dragon, Sky. We have also seen Sir in news channels across India, where he has provided and contributed his views on topics related to military and defense. I feel honored to have you with us, sir. You have made all of us proud by your distinguished worked in numerous capacities, a man of distinct vision and a fountainhead of illuminating ideas. Thank you so much, sir. Sir, the virtual platform is all yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much for those very generous words and introduction. Uh, we are heading for the 75th anniversary of our Independence Day. And it is a great occasion for us to reflect and to bow our heads in gratitude to those who fought to get us this freedom and those who fought and laid down their lives to see that we would remain free. In all these, the Indian armed forces have played a stellar role. Very few, everybody knows about the role post-independence in defending India, but very few people are really aware that it is the Indian armed forces which have played a stellar role in India gaining her freedom. Generally, we are told, "De di hame ajadi bina khadak bina dal," etc., etc. But the actual fact is that if today we are free, there was a revolt in 1857 that failed. It was done by the armed forces. It shook the British. And for a time, those people, the Sepoys, had captured Delhi and put the Indian, they had freed the Red Fort. And they had declared, Bahadur Shah as the last emperor of India, because they wanted to get back the rule from the East India Company, and they had taken it back for a time. It was with the great effort that by treachery that the British reconquered India. But the main fight that really succeeded, everybody knows about the failed uprising of 1857, the Ghadar of 1857, because it failed. But very few people know that it was the Azad Hind Fauj of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose that actually got you free. It was an army of 60,000, out of which 26,000 laid down their lives. How then can you, with what face can you call it a non-violent struggle? Let me put this figure of 26,000 in perspective. We have recently constructed the National War Memorial after the NDA government came to power. And on that, how many names do you think are on the National War Memorial? Since 1947, we have a total of 25,580 names. 580 names on the National War Memorial. These are of all our wars since 1947 to date. And these are from the Army, the Navy, the Air Force. That means out of a total of 30 lakh Army, Navy, Air Force, the total number on our National War Memorial, the names inscribed, including my brother's name, my coursemate, we have about 25,580 names. Now, what I want to point out is that beta, just close this door, Addy. ये दरवाजा बंद कर दो. Sorry. What I want to point out is that out of 60,000 of the Azad Hind Fauj, 26,000 laid down their life. But पूरे भारतवर्ष में कहीं एक पत्थर नहीं, एक memorial stone नहीं जहां पे उनके नाम है. It's only now, after repeated years and years of requesting the government, I recently wrote to Madam Meenakshi Lekhi, and she was kind enough to take that proposal up to the Prime Minister, and it has just gotten the Prime Minister's approval. We are now going to construct in the lawns of the Red Fort a National War Memorial to the Indian, the Indian National Army, the Azad Hind Fauj. What I want to point out to you all is that out of 60,000, 44%, 26,000 laid down their lives to make you and me free. They may have lost the battles of Imphal and Kohima, but they won the war for Indian independence. How? When the war got over, the British, in a very triumphalist gesture, they put on trial 3 officers of the INA, Dhillon, Sehgal, Shah Nawaz. Dhillon, Sehgal, Shah Nawaz, Lal Kile se aayi awaaz. Dhillon, Sehgal, Shah Nawaz. One Hindu, one Muslim, one Sikh. Each of the major communities of India, they put one officer each on trial in the Red Fort in a gesture designed to insult India, in a gesture designed to humiliate Indians, because Lal Kile pe Jhanda Fehrayenge was the nara of the Azad Hind Fauj. And they said, the British said, after they won the war, the Second World War, they wanted to humiliate the men of the INA. They wanted to humiliate all of India. And they said, in the same Red Fort where you wanted to put the Tiranga, we will now torture you, we will court-martial you, and we will hang you in the same Red Fort. Ladies and gentlemen, the simple fact is that when these trials started, and when word reached that there was an Azad Hind Fauj which had fought for India's freedom, there was an explosion in the whole of India. There were riots in Calcutta, Delhi, Lahore, Mumbai, Karachi, all the major towns of India. There were riots. The police opened fire, but the crowds would not stop. They were violent. The British were shaken, but worse was to come. You see, in February 1946, how many of you know that there was a revolt in the Royal Indian Navy? Out of 80 ships, 79, the sailors mutinied. The sailors revolted against the British, brought down the Union Jack, flew up the tricolour, and went around the streets of Mumbai and Karachi shouting Jai Hind, with portraits of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. The British realized it was all over. They were ruling India because there was an Indian army of 25 lakhs. And how many Gora Sipahis do you think there were? 40,000. Even if these 25 lakhs had thrown stones, they would have not been able to stay 1 minute than is necessary. The British saw the writing on the wall. Straight away that very day, Lord Pething Lawrence, the Secretary of State for India, was flown in, and the rest is history. In 15th August 1947, the British left India. The British left India. And then the armed forces of India now fought for their own country, not for the British Empire. It started right away in 1947 when Pakistan tried to invade Kashmir with the help of, Kabaili raiders from northwest in Kashmir. And they came with a 500 civil trucks convoy to carry back the women and the loot from Jammu and Kashmir. What a strange way of liberating a country. What a strange way of liberating the people of Jammu and Kashmir by raping their women, burning their towns and villages, carrying away the loot back to Afghanistan. But that is what Pakistan design was. And they're trying to fool the people that they were trying to liberate, in inverted commas, Jammu and Kashmir. That was the time Brigadier Rajinder Singh, the Chief of Staff of the Jammu and Kashmir State Forces, was called by Maharaja Hari Singh. A very dangerous situation had erupted. 4th Battalion Jammu and Kashmir Rifles, which was guarding the Uri, Srinagar, Baramulla, Srinagar axis. Suddenly there was a mutiny in 2 Muslim companies, and at night they killed their own brethren while they were sleeping. It was a very treacherous act. And suddenly the gate to Srinagar lay wide open, the road to Srinagar. That is the time he was sent forward, Brigadier Rajinder Singh. He took just about 150 men who were there in Delhi, in Srinagar cantonment. With them, he went forward himself and he blew up the Uri bridge. When he blew up the Uri bridge, the 500 truck convoy was stopped on the other side, and the raiders refused to move forward till the bridge was reconstructed. Finally, the Pakistani military officers who were with these raiding Lashkars, they prevailed upon them to cross by the footbridges and somehow, attack this company. This company, led by Brigadier Rajinder Singh, just 150 odd men, they fought a rear guard withdrawal, a fighting withdrawal, and they delayed the tribal Lashkars of 10,000 men for almost 48 hours. The Maharaja signed the instrument of accession and the Indian army flew in. You have all heard of Major Somnath Sharma of the Kumaon regiment. He was the first officer of the Indian army, Free Indian Army, to get the Param Vir Chakra. He fought ahead of the Srinagar airfield as the raiders were now desperately trying to seize the airfield because they saw that the Indian army had started flying in. And he again held them up for another 12 hours, and in that time the forces built up at Badgam airfield. A brigade build-up was flown in, led by Brigadier L.P. Sen, Lionel Protip Sen. You see, from there they started the counter-attack, and they threw back the raiders from the whole of the valley first. Then they went and they liberated the Kargil, the area of Kargil and Dras. They crossed the Zozila Pass with tanks and shocked the Pakistanis. And then they went on to lift the siege of Leh and the siege of Punch. And 2/3 of Jammu and Kashmir was liberated. That was the time we got the additional forces from Hyderabad who were fighting to free the Hyderabad from the Nizam of Hyderabad, who was trying to fight the Indian army. In 5 days, he and his army were sorted out. Right? He and his army were sorted out. And then it was that the troops were made available to take the balance of Kashmir. Unfortunately, our then government, then led by Prime Minister Nehru, decided to take the case to the United Nations. And you know what has happened since then. It is still bloody pending, that problem. So this is how the Indian army was straight away thrown into operations. It fought then in Goa and liberated Goa in 1961, threw out the Portuguese. Just in 2 days, this whole battle was over. The Portuguese were thrown out and they surrendered. All of them surrendered and laid down their arms, and we freed Goa, Daman and Diu. The unfortunate problem was that was the phase of Ahimsa and Mahatma Gandhi and Panchashil and Satyagraha and all that sort of it. And Nehru had told the British chief of the Indian army, the first chief, General Sir Roy Butcher, I don't need an army. Who will attack a peaceful, non-violent country like India? India does not need an army. We only need the police for law and order. I don't want an army. Disband the bloody army. This was the attitude of Nehru, Pandit Nehru. And the army chief was shocked out of his skin. It was thanks to Sardar Patel that he did not let him disband the army and do more stupid things like that. And the army was saved, but it was starved of resources. Unfortunately, Sardar Patel died very early in 53 itself. And thereafter, the Indian army was treated very badly. It was starved of resources, starved of defense budget, brought down in precedence and rank, and they tried to bury the spirit of the army, the fighting spirit of the army. They tried to promote all their chamchas and relations. And the shock that we got was in 62 when the Chinese surprised us and humiliated us. It was fortunately a well-deserved humiliation because at least it opened our eyes to reality. At least it opened our eyes to reality, and because of that, at least it opened our eyes to reality, and because of that, we started expanding and modernizing our army. Pakistan saw the expansion and modernization of the Indian army and it was very worried that soon it would become too strong. And Pakistan saw its last chance to take Kashmir in 1965, and it gambled and it failed. You know, it started the revolt, tried to instigate a revolt by sending the Mujahids and infiltrators into the valley of Kashmir in August 1965. The whole revolt failed dismally because the Gujars of Kashmir, they came and reported to us about these infiltrators. And then we mounted operations. They had almost finished. In desperation, Pakistan now launched Operation Grand Slam to try and capture, the Akhnur bridge and cut off Jammu and Kashmir from the rest of India. Thereafter, as you are aware, India under General J.N. Chaudhary and General Harbaksh Singh, the Army Commander, Western Command, they decided to hit back and hit back hard and attack across the international border. And I think the short-statured Lal Bahadur Shastri showed his real stature by giving the order for the Indian armed forces to attack across the international border. It was a momentous decision, one of the most difficult any prime minister has taken. And two corps of the Indian army, the 1st Corps and the 11th Corps, they struck across the international border toward Lahore and Sialkot. And Pakistan had to recoil and turn back and try and fight and save its own skin. Pakistan still had its 1st Armored Division intact, and it tried to launch a counterstroke. But General Harbaksh Singh had anticipated this, and in Asal Uttar, he laid a U-shaped trap. And in that U-shaped trap, the Pakistani Armored Division walked in. They opened the canal, they burst the sides of the canal, flooded that area. All the tanks got bogged down and they were shot up. 100 Patton tanks were destroyed, and the entire attack of the 1st Armored Division of Pakistan failed. This is where Lance Havaldar Abdul, Company Quartermaster Abdul Hamid got his Param Vir Chakra by destroying 7 Pakistani Patton tanks before he was killed. He was blasted by a Pakistani Patton tank, but he destroyed 7 Pakistani Patton tanks and stopped the attack. Havaldar Abdul Hamid. And the other Param Vir Chakra of this war was Lieutenant Colonel Tarapur of the 17th Pune Horse, the famous Fakhre Hind Rasala that had attacked in Sialkot, and he fought battle after battle, and he reached, Pasrur, and he was almost knocking at the gates of Sialkot when that ceasefire was declared. Unfortunately, after the ceasefire, we lost on the negotiating table whatever great gains our forces had made on the battlefield. We had captured the Haji Pir Pass, where my namesake Brigadier Bakshi was given the Mahavir Chakra for recapturing the Haji Pir Pass, but it was given back to Pakistan. It was the main route of infiltration. I want to tell you that thereafter, we prepared, our modernization was fully complete by 1971. Modernization and expansion of the Indian Army post 62. Pakistan then tried to, needle India. There was a revolt in East Pakistan. The Muslims of East Pakistan rose up in revolt against the Punjabi Muslims who were behaving like colonizers and trying to ram Urdu down the throat of the Bengali people. They resented it. And then, they sent in General Tika Khan, the butcher of Bangladesh. He killed 3 million Bengalis. The Pakistani army raped 1 million Bengali women, and 10 million Bangladeshis were pushed out into India as refugees. This was too much, and India was forced to retaliate. Even then, we held our patience. We helped the Mukti Bahini, but we did not go in. Till 3rd of December 1971, the Pakistani Air Force attacked 6 of our forward airfield in a kind of a preemptive Israeli-style strike, which proved to be a damn squib. We had information about this strike, and very few of our aircraft were really hit or damaged. Next day, India hit back. From 3 sides, we attacked Bangladesh, or what is now Bangladesh, then East Pakistan. And we went in 550 kilometers in just 13 days. We crossed major rivers which are over 5 to 6 kilometers wide with the help of helicopters. And we closed in on the capital city of Dhaka. We closed in on the capital city of Dhaka. And there we captured the capital city and 93,000 prisoners of war surrendered. The surrender was led by Lieutenant General Amir Akbar Abdullah Khan Niazi, Hilal-e-Jurrat Sitara, Pakistan, who was one of the topmost commanders of the Pakistani army. He was the Eastern Army Theatre Commander in East Pakistan. He surrendered his pistol and started sobbing like a child in front of Lieutenant General Jasjit Singh Arora. Now I wish to tell you that in 13 days we had created a new nation state with the force of arms. The Indian armed forces had come of age. 93,000 prisoners of war is one of the largest mass surrenders after the Second World War. In the whole world, we had become a world-class armed forces. We had conducted a classic tri-service campaign. One of the people to win the Param Vir Chakra in this particular operation was my batchmate, my course mate, Second Lieutenant Arun Khetrapal, who at the age of 21 got the Param Vir Chakra, the highest gallantry award, by destroying 5 Pakistani Patton tanks in the Battle of Basantar. He had destroyed 3 Patton tanks when his own Centurion tank was hit and he was badly wounded. Blood was rushing into his eyes. He was asked to abandon his tank, but he said, "My gun is still firing. I'll get these bastards." And he continued to fire and destroyed 2 more Pakistani tanks, even as the blood was streaming into his eyes. Then just one Pakistani tank was left and 1 Indian tank. They both opened fire, and because his eyes were full of blood, he missed. And that tank shell killed him on the spot. He got the Param Vir Chakra posthumously for his incredible bravery. He was from my batch. I say it with great pride that my batch has produced 1 Param Vir Chakra posthumously, Second Lieutenant Arun Khetrapal, PVC, of the 17 Pune Horse again. And we also had Colonel NJC Nair, Ashok Chakra, Kirti Chakra, one of the highest decorated officers of the Indian Army, from my batch, from my squadron in the NDA, India Squadron. So this is our glory in the Second World War. We had, Lance Naik Albert Eka, who in the Battle of Hilli also got the Param Vir Chakra. And we had Flying Officer Nirmaljit Singh Sekhon of the Air Force, who with his single nat, he took on 6 Pakistani saber jets, shot down 2, and then was killed himself by 4 of the other Pakistani sabers. He chased them back. He stopped their attack, but he had to lay down his life in the bargain. He was also given the Param Vir Chakra, the only Param Vir Chakra of the Air Force. Commodore, that time he was Lieutenant Commander Babru Bhan Yadav of the Navy. He led the strike on Karachi, and he put Karachi harbor on fire, and they sank 6 Pakistani ships in the Karachi harbor. The only occasion in which a fleet has gone to the enemy's home base, struck it, put the whole of Karachi on fire, the oil tank farms, and sank 6 enemy ships and come back without a scratch. He got the Mahavir Chakra. I thought he deserved higher, but he got the Mahavir Chakra for this particular operation. Then, of course, we have the 13 J&K rifles. And Naik Sanjay Kumar, now Lance Naik Sanjay Kumar, now Subedar Sanjay Kumar of 13 J&K rifles, who got the Param Vir Chakra. Subedar Major Yogendra Yadav, then he was just a sepoy. He got 18 bullets. He was from the Grenadiers. He also got the Param Vir Chakra. And Major Manoj Pandey got the Param Vir Chakra. The young officers led from the front. And that is indicated by the tally of awards. 4 Param Vir Chakras, 10 Mahavir Chakras, and 48 Vir Chakras. Also, over 130 Sena medals in this war. The tally of gallantry awards speaks for itself as to how our officers led from the front, and yard by bloody yard, inch by bloody inch, they threw every single Pakistani out of Indian soil without crossing over into Pakistan. The Air Force also jumped in and they destroyed their logistical bases at Buntho Dhalo and other places using laser guided bombs. So it is a saga of incredible bravery. Apart from these regular wars, we have been fighting non-stop in the northeast, in Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, Assam. We have been fighting in Jammu and Kashmir and Punjab, counter-terrorist operations. I myself have taken part in these operations. And from uh, 2000 to 2005, for 5 years non-stop, I was operating in Jammu and Kashmir against the Pakistani terrorists. I served in Kishtwar, where one of my boys got the Ashok Chakra, Naik Rambir Singh Tomar, for killing 5 Pakistani terrorists single-handed. You know, such is the stuff that our boys are made of. The Indian Army is very proud to have these village soldiers. Most of them, 80%, are from the villages of India and not the towns and cities. And they are incredibly brave, tough, and hardy. I want to salute each one of these men. It may not be possible to salute them individually today, but at least as a collectivity, I salute each and every one of our martyrs of the Indian Armed Forces who has laid down his life that India may continue to be free. So as I said, we have been fighting non-stop in counter-terrorist operations thereafter, and we continue to win awards and laurels in every sphere, in every way. So ladies and gentlemen, I've given you a brief overview of what the armed forces have done for the country in the last 75 odd years, and the way we are going to go forward will be more glory. We will add greater grace and bravery, annals of bravery. We will add further laurels and chapters to the story of guts and glory that is the Indian Army. Thank you very much for this patience listening. Jai Bharat, Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, Major General J.D. Bakshi ji. It was one of the most inspiring accounts of bravery, grit, and valor of our war heroes. Sir, our audience have a few questions. May I have your permission to pose these questions to you, please?
Please.
Okay. The first question is this. India is one of the most populous youth nations in the world. Many youth want to join the army, but there is a resistance from their parents. What is your message to new age parents so that they should make their minds to send their kids to the army?
I would like to remind the parents of my own story. I had an elder brother, Captain Srishti Raman Bakshi, 11th Battalion, the Jammu and Kashmir Rifles. He was martyred in the 1965 war at the young age of just 23 years. His body was blasted to bits by an M16 mine, little pieces at bit. 65 he died. 65 December itself I gave my exam for the NDA. 66, I think March, I had gone for my services selection board to Mysore, and 67 June, I was in the NDA in 38 course. My parents were aghast. They had just lost one son, and quite obviously they were very upset, and they were saying कि हमने ठेका ले रखा है फौज में लड़के भेजने का, एक मर गया दूसरा जा रहा है. But मैंने किसी की नहीं सुनी. I insisted, and finally my father had to relent. I said, this is what I want to do. I want to take revenge for my brother, and I joined the armed forces. So I would tell parents that, look, somebody has to make that sacrifice. There is no greater heroism than the sacrifice that is made by our armed forces. And we must send our brightest and the best to the armed forces so that we continue to win war. If you send useless people who couldn't make it anywhere else, IAS, IPS, IFS, IIT, doctor, everything they tried, they failed, and then they want to go to the armed forces just for the money, then I'm afraid they will not fight very well. And we will start losing our war. So if you want India to lose, then you can be obstructive. If you want India to win, send the good boys to the armed forces. Send the spirited boys to the armed forces. Encourage the youth to join the armed forces and serve their country.
That was the most inspiring message, sir. I'm sure many parents will be motivated to send their children to armed forces. Sir, another question. Today, national security is a great concern. We have our neighboring nations who always attack our borders. It is predicted that the next war will be on three S, that is space, sky, and sea. What is your opinion on this, sir?
Absolutely, space is the new frontier. You know, China shocked the world by shooting down one of its own satellites as a demonstration of its space power. India has also caught up. We are one of the 5 countries that can send up our own rocket satellites, and we can shoot down satellites in outer space. So we have demonstrated to the world our ability, and the next war is likely to be a war of missiles, of drones. It will largely be fought in space to knock out the surveillance satellites, to knock out the GPS satellites of the enemy, to cause misery, chaos, and confusion. The whole nature of war is changing. You may just fight cyber wars, information wars, and as I have written in my latest book, China is already waging biological warfare against the world. You will have to be very alert and very, very focused.
True. Sir, we have another question. How safe are our borders with China? George Fernandez said China is enemy number one, and many diplomatic talks between India and China do not mention or discuss the border issues. How do you analyze the strategic concerns of the border security with China, sir?
Look, there is no doubt that China is our enemy number one. It is the biggest, strongest power in South Asia, which is breathing down our necks. It has already attacked us once in 1962. It fought a mini skirmish in 1967 where it got a bloody nose and has been keeping quiet since then. But now it seems it is consolidating its national power and it is acting assertive. The Chinese Navy has already overgrown the American Navy in terms of warship. American Navy. So you can imagine where that leaves us. But we will fight back. We will not kowtow. We will never surrender. And I wish to communicate through the gentleman that India will triumph. India will rise. That is what I wish to tell you. So please do send your armed forces, your children to the armed forces and bless us and bless them with the youth of valor, the youth of great courage, as was shown in Kargil. I'm very sure our youth is capable of rising to even greater heights and touch the sky with glory. Thank you.
That's very reassuring, sir. Sir, we have three more questions. Do you have time
And
for
last
that?
question. Sorry, I have to go now.
All
Last
right.
question.
Sir, what is your message for students and the youth, sir?
My message is that the 21st century is the century of India. It is you, the youth, that will take India to the status of a superpower on par with America, with China, with Russia. We will be a superpower. We have all that it takes, the capability, the resources, the manpower. Only thing is we have to get our act together. We operate as 1.4 billion separate India. Each Indian thinks he is cat's whiskers. He doesn't want to become or coordinate with any other Indian. We are not team players. If you see our if you see our results in Olympics and Asian Games and Commonwealth, all the individual games we win. We win boxing, wrestling, shooting, riding, etc., weightlifting. These are all individual games. But when it comes to team games, we tend to lose. It's only now after 41 years that we've gotten a bronze in hockey in the men's, and I'm just bad luck, but we would have gotten a bronze even in the other.
Thank you very much, sir. That was a great message. It has been a privilege and utmost honor for Team Disha Bharat to have you grace our platform. We hope to interact with you in days to come as well. And we thank you for your inspiring address. Thank you so much, sir. Namaste. Yes, namaste. Dear viewers, let's quickly take a look at the programs we have lined up tomorrow exclusively for you all. Each day at 10 a.m. in the morning, students from across the state and beyond have been displaying their talents. Tomorrow as well, we have students speaking on Kamala Devi Chattopadhyaya, Quit India movement. We also have mono acting on Bhagat Singh and soulful renditions of songs, poetry and dance. We will also have a special session on Indian folk forms as well. Please do attend. And tomorrow evening, we have with us Dr. K. Radhakrishnan, eminent space scientist and former chairman ISRO, speaking on the topic Space and Technology, Bharat's Proud Achievements. Please join us for the both of the programs. Please do share our Facebook link with your friends and family and do join us in making this campaign a grand success. Thank you all for being with us all this while. Namaste.